ahead and at least get this thing going, and then share with everybody or whoever logs in at what time, or if people on YouTube, then so be it.
All right, we're gonna get started.
I don't want to rush you, so whenever you're ready, man.
Yeah,
I talked to Mimi earlier. I think she logging on too, so she right across the street.
Superintendent Johnny, I'm going to log off of here and just watch on YouTube.
Okay.
Hey, Matt, real quick, while we're waiting to get started.
Go ahead.
You might want to make acquaintance with the new neighbor across the street, because that's your ward. Remember the house we had all the issues?
In the greenhouse?
Yeah, we got a new couple moved in there, been there about a week and a half. They introduced themselves. I think we did well. But
okay, good.
I explained to them that this side of the street was Ward 6 and that one was Ward 5. So when you get an opportunity, you might want to introduce yourself. That's all.
Yeah, I appreciate the heads up, man.
No problem.
All right, so we're gonna get started. We appreciate everyone tonight came up to see to our community meeting about John Dewey. We wanted, as a school district, go through what our future plans for John Dewey and to lay out a vision moving forward. I'd like to acknowledge Councilman Howard, who's here today, who's been part of our process, who we talked to and shared what our vision and plans are. Councilman Howard, would like to add anything?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you for all the hard work and determination that the school board has done, especially with the leadership of Superintendent Donald Jolly. We go back quite a ways. I'm expecting good things, good conversation, good dialogue to come from this. John Dewey has been a staple over here on this side of town for a long time. It's just a brief history of, we're having 3 elementary schools, and, we all didn't know each other, K through 4, but, we came together in the 5th grade, and, but people came from different sides of town and different walks of life. So, for this side of town, this was, where all of the pre-K through 4th graders went. A lot of stories, a lot of history. And people are going to be very excited and, very optimistic about what's going to be going in over here. The city has some zoning rules and, where you can only do light commercial, residential, things like that in this area. So a lot of ideas have come up, but, here, Superintendent Jolly, the school board, Mr. Turner, Mr. Dotson, I think we all will be able to give some input and some direction as far as what to expect moving forward. So I just want to say thank you for your time, Mr. Jolly.
Yes, sir. And I see that the mayor has logged on, and also the board president has logged on, and also board member Ray Freeman has logged on also. Oh, hold on. So how did we get here? I was talking, I was on mute. I said the whole slide already on mute, but let me get off mute and talk through the process. So how did we get here? In 2015, when I arrived to the district, the state of Ohio came to us and said that they had some funds available for the district to partner with them to build build new schools in Warrensville. Over a period of about 20 years, the state had came to us at various different times and offered assistance in building new schools, but due to various different reasons, climate, whatever was happening at that time, the district declined. At this time, though, they came to us and they said that, this would be your last opportunity for a long time, and either you act now or you lose out on the money. So through our Board of Education took the very ambitious step. We agreed to look forward to try to move forward in this process. So in this process, the part of the process is that they have to evaluate all of our buildings in the district. So they looked at all of them because the first step is to look to see if you can renovate the building before you build a new one. Upon review of all our buildings, and the measure on this is that if the cost to renovate exceeds 70% of the cost it takes to build new, then the buildings should be replaced. So after review of all our buildings, it was determined that all of our buildings were not adequate to be renovated, but that we needed to look at some new options. So through some community meetings and so forth and internal conversations, and looking at what our resources offered, the decision to build Warrensville Heights Elementary School came. With that decision, this building, we did not come to the taxpayers at all for this building, but we used proceeds from all the new industry that has developed in the community. So we use, the Eaton area, the Richmond Road area, any new proceeds to fund this new building. So this new building is a combination, as Mr. Howard said earlier. We had 3 different schools in the community. The district around 2009 or 10 went to a district concept where they broke the schools into grade levels. And the neighborhood feel went away about 2010, 2011. So now we got a district schools. And with that, the decision was to combine all 3 schools into one campus, which we now have is the Warrensville Heights Elementary School. It officially opened on November 22nd, 2020, when our teachers arrived to the building during the COVID and pandemic. And our scholars arrived, first day for our scholars at the new elementary school was on January 25th. It replaces Eastwood, Westwood, and John Dewey. It's over 132,000 square feet. It is the most state-of-the-art facility in this community and probably in Northeast Ohio. My computer is jamming. I'm having computer issues. Oh, there we go. Let me go back. This building is located on Clarkwood Parkway. Ride by it right now. It's in full action, full go, full of students. And these are just some examples of some of our what's inside the building. These are called extended learning areas. These are areas where kids congregate together, where instruction, intervention groups happen, where large group instruction occurs. We have these for every grade level throughout the building. Great learning spaces. The classrooms surround these learning areas. If you remember, anybody remember the old Randallwood where they had pods? We kept that concept of having pods, but it's the 21st century Randallwood concept where we have the opportunities for collaborative learning, but we also respect the individualized learning of classrooms with walls also. Inside of each classroom is an 85-inch interactive board, the latest lighting, latest technology throughout the building. These are some examples of how a classroom looks. We have movable furniture. Our furniture is flexible. It moves. Teachers can move it any way they want. Example of our interactive screens. Another example on the bottom left of our Um, Extended learning areas. This is an example of our outdoor playground that sits in the back. An example of our first floor office with our nursing station in the back.
You want me to take it from there?
Yeah, so at this time we'll have Jason Dotson, who is our board attorney. Will share what our concerns and issues as we close these schools. We have to do something with them. We learned from the Randallwood experience when Randallwood closed. Initially, we looked to go back to Randallwood, but over the years, it had deteriorated so much that we couldn't use it. One of our concerns is that we do not want to create any eyesores in the district, any place where vandalism can occur. We don't want to create any unsafe places. So what the district is doing is going through a process and working with the city to determine what happens next. So for each school, we had our first community meeting with Eastwood. This is our second community meeting with John Dewey. And during this process, we'll explain what our process is, what our limitations are, and what our vision for the future and moving forward is. So without further ado, Mr. Dotson.
Thank you, sir. And excuse me. So on this slide here, this slide gives a little bit additional background to what Superintendent Jolly was just talking about. Is the district planned to ultimately dispose of the 3 elementary schools plus the former Board of Education building? It looked at a couple different things in terms of what that would cost the school district. And so initially the cost to tear down the 3 elementary schools it was budgeted at $1.3 million. That remains the number that is in the school district's budget to this day. Now, 32% of the cost of demolishing those 3 schools is actually going to be recoverable from the state of Ohio. So the district is actually able to apply for that 32% reimbursement from the state. But those 3 school districts do have to be demolished by the end of 2023. And the Board of Education building is going to be 100% on the district. That is not able to be, the state of Ohio is not able to contribute to the demolition of that building. We have obtained appraisals for all 4 buildings, and those 4 buildings equal about that same $1.3 million number in terms of what their value is now, including both the building and the land that they sit on. And perfect. And so as we've looked at the situation, the challenge really for the school district is how do they dispose of the property within the confines of what's set up in the Ohio Revised Code, but how do they do so strategically so that the board is still able to pull maximum benefit out of those properties? And that can be both a financial benefit, as well as how do they make sure that the district is positioned to come out of disposing those properties as best as it can be. And we'll talk a little bit here in a minute in terms of what that means in terms of how the property has to be disposed. So the Ohio Revised Code sections that deal with the disposal of properties are somewhat convoluted, but once you work through them and boil them down, they're relatively straightforward. Once a property is not used by a school district for a period of 1 year, then that property needs to be disposed of by the school. Now, using that property can be educational purposes, administrative purposes, or other school purposes, which would include storage, for example. Once the district then goes through the process to dispose of property, it first has to offer them those properties to charter schools, community schools, STEM schools. And then if none of those schools are interested in the property, then the school district has to dispose of it at auction. If there are no auctions or no bidders at those auctions, then the school district is they're free to move forward and sell it at a private sale. But most of the time, the property is either going to be picked up by a charter school or it's going to sell at the auction. Every once in a while, you do have a few that'll flow through and be sold in the private sale. Now, there are two major exceptions there that give the school district a little bit more flexibility. One is the school district is permitted to swap its property with property that's owned by a city or a village, as long as they're generally equivalent and are mutually beneficial for each of both the school district and that municipality. And that mutually beneficial means they don't have to be the exact same amount of money. Then the second exception is that the school district is allowed to sell the property to any political subdivision, city, village, county, port authority, whoever that may be. But it does still have to first offer the property to the charter schools before it would be able to sell it. And that really is the structure. And that's a structure that the Ohio Revised Code determined was necessary to be able to help get property to charter schools, because charter schools typically don't have the money to build a school from scratch. And that was kind of a way that the legislature down in Columbus ultimately said, hey, this is going to be a benefit we're going to give to charter schools. I think a lot of people have public policy concerns with that. And certainly just with the history of the Warrensville Heights City School District, I think it's safe to say that we're not really interested in giving any extra advantages to charter schools to come in and compete with the district, particularly given the quality education that the district provides its students. Mr. Jolly, next slide, please. Thank you, sir. So in evaluating our options, there's a few different things we need to keep in mind. What approaches reduce the likelihood that charter schools or alternative schools are going to end up with the properties and get more of a foothold within the district? We also need to be mindful that the properties we have or the demo for those properties is about what it's going to cost or about what they're worth. So we need to be mindful and not spend more money than we're necessarily going to get back. Or if we do that, we need to make sure we've got a good public policy reason to do so. And then we also need to kind of analyze and determine what other needs the school district has that can be accomplished through swapping property or selling that property and really working with the city to put that property back into the best productive use. Because as much as the school district isn't necessarily going to want to see it in the hands of charter schools, the school district also isn't going to want to see those properties sit there, become nuisances, become attractions for crime and other issues that are there. And they really want to make sure that they work with the city and the community to get those properties back into productive use. Next slide, Mr. Jolly. And so this evening's discussion obviously is surrounding John Dewey Elementary. And this was a slide we put together specifically on that school. The appraised value for John Dewey is $495,000. And right now, the district is planning to use that as a temporary middle school through the 2022-2023 school year, which means that we're really looking at the summer of 2023 before the district is going to be looking to do something with the property. Well, things may change over the next couple years, and certainly there'll be discussions between the district and the city and other interested parties. Most likely, the best course of action for this building is going to be to tear the building down after that 2023 school year and before the end of 2023 in order to get that 32% contribution from the state. And then at that point in time, we're going to have land. And that's going to then enable the school district to, again, work with the city, see whether there's a potential end user where we could sell the land to the city could turn around and sell it to the end user. If there's a swap potentially between the district and the city that's at play, or whether the best case scenario for everybody is to just put the property up for auction. We believe once the building's down, charter schools aren't likely to be interested. And so it really becomes more of a development opportunity with the land under any of those different scenarios more than anything else. And so,
Well, Jason, I do want to speak on some other uses. So And for those that don't know, the middle school would be torn down also this summer or fall. And that's the reason why we are using John Dewey as the new middle school. With that, currently we have no baseball fields at all for our baseball or softball teams. John Dewey has 2 baseball fields that's already located on the property. So what the district will do upon board approval is that we will re-energize the 2 baseball fields at John Dewey for our youth and for our school teams to play there. We also are looking at demolishing the tennis courts also. So what you will see at John Dewey is the re-energizing of the baseball fields for youth, for our high school, middle school teams, and also for youth sports. With the middle school moving there, you will see middle school sports at John Dewey. Football, namely, the team will be practicing on John Dewey Field. You're going to see middle school kids at John Dewey for 2 years. During these 2 years, right behind the high school, and you'll be able to see, you see the construction of the new middle and high school, which will start this summer. You'll also see the construction of a new Warrensville Heights stadium, which we anticipate the stadium will be complete in the fall of 22, and we anticipate the school will be complete in the spring of 23. So all of these things are moving at the same time, a very exciting time for the district as we remake education in Warrensville, the facilities in Warrensville, totally remake everything here in the district, but work closely with the city, with Councilman Howard, Mayor Sellers, to ensure that whatever happens is in the best interest of everybody. We are community partners. We actually, the school board owns a large portion of open land in the district once this is complete. And it's very important that the decisions we make today will be impactful for the next 50 years. So this close collaboration is very crucial and important as we move forward. So at this time, we open to any questions for anybody or we do have somebody on YouTube that's monitoring the questions, if any YouTube questions, or for anybody that's on this call, Councilman Howard or anybody else, or if the mayor or anybody else would like to add anything to the conversation.
So I'm gonna go ahead and go first. Has there been anyone reaching out with any ideas as far as any other business entities, any churches, any other charter schools, or anybody? Has anybody been reaching out with the idea of possibly acquiring the property?
So charter schools have reached out to us about the property. We are currently, charter schools take over 2.9 million from our district, straight off the top. We are not, from a district perspective, interested in bringing a charter school into our district to take away taxpayer money and divert taxpayer money to our old building. So we will take whatever steps necessary to ensure that we, by law, do what's necessary to limit that opportunity. Other than charter schools, we have not had any commercial or any home businesses approach the school district about acquisition of land at this point.
So you were talking about potential, well, not even potentially, but you were discussing, moving the middle school kids, our scholars over to this building. Is it large enough to accompany that many kids, that many children going into the building? Is it large enough?
So actually, John Dewey actually had more students when it was functioning as a K3, as a K2 than the middle school. So the middle school is about 330 students at the middle school. And when I came here, John Dewey got over 400 students at John Dewey. We went and walked the building, did class to class, and the middle school, the usage of the middle school and John Dewey is comparable. So we believe it would definitely work.
And then I know there's been some discussions about, if there were ever any future plans of expansion. I know we looking at, from the city's perspective, we've had discussions as far as, where we would like to see our population be. I know we have in my ward and in numerous wards, but I'm gonna speak of Ward 5 that's surrounding John Dewey, what we call the Maze or Clarkwood Estates. We have an aging population where, the generation before me is still occupying these homes, but, as time progresses, people move on, they sell their property, new families move in, they may have children with them, they new homeowners. There's a whole new generation of children coming in. So moving into the future, are we going to have enough room for any expansion? If we need it, will we have enough space? Let's say to hold, let's say, well, I think in our heyday, we might have been at somewhere around 3,000 students. Mm-hmm. Will we ever be able to hold that many children?
So I would say what we currently building, no. What we've been financed for and funded for, no. So what we have to do is the board has to really and work collaboratively with the city to determine what land that we will hold in case that comes to fruition, that we will need additional building. At the time when we went for funding for the building, the projected enrollment of the district was only 1,826 people. The district, that's over 10 years. The district added additional money to make the buildings bigger. With that said, the conversation about future expansion and growth is something that the board will have very soon. And as we roll out these buildings and determine what we're gonna do with the buildings and what happens with the buildings, definitely a conversation about holding a property for future expansion would be at the table. Because like you said, the dynamics of the city is shifting. As we continue to be a great school district, more people gonna wanna move here. As we build these magnificent facilities, it's gonna be an attraction. And I believe that there will have to be some conversations about possibly another school being built and the determination where that's something that we need to determine and start to talk about now. Which one of the sites where that new school go 10 years from now, possibly, whenever time prevails.
Mm-hmm. Almost anywhere because we a tri-city community. So we have, Warrensville's in the center. We have a small village to the south, and then we have a small village to the north. So almost anywhere in Warrensville Heights will be centrally located if you go by using the 3 different villages or municipalities. So if it's John Dewey, if you strategically put together a plan, or down the line you decide you want to keep John Dewey or Westwood or Eastwood or whatever, it could still be pretty much centrally located if you're using the parameters of all 3 communities. So I'm really excited to see what's going to transpire. This is something that I've never seen a school built in Warrensville since we've been alive. So just having the discussions and seeing what's moving forward here, it's very energizing. I know you spoke about the baseball diamonds. You spoke about, and some of my complaints from some of my residents is the tennis courts. So you spoke about remedying that situation. So, just with these small discussions, we are moving forward. It sounds like in the best interest of the community to put us like you said, for the next 50 years. We really need to be thinking about this. So, my hat goes off to you. I think you're doing a wonderful job. I would like for you to come out and definitely speak to the HOA association, at some point, just to get them a small update of, where we are after this meeting. in the next month or two, just to give them a little bit of a heads up on, what to expect. So as far as the baseball diamonds, you're looking at?
So the baseball diamonds, we hope to have them done by Memorial Day.
Okay.
As soon as, if the board approves it, I was told that once they get started, it's a 2-week window. We really would like to have our baseball team get one home game this year. I don't know if that's possible, but we got seniors on our team that didn't get to play last year and don't have a home place this year. And just thinking back as a student here, the opportunity to play in front of your home is something that you always remember. And we got 2 groups of kids that possibly won't have that opportunity. So I'm big on the memories and providing people with things that they could take with them the rest of their life. So if it's possible, I don't know if it is, it all depends on, first we have to get board approval, and then the contractor's got to be able to get out there and get it done. This field at the latest will be energized by May 31st. Now we partner with a youth baseball program called B-Buzz. It was a historical program that was in the Lee Harbor area for years to try to bring youth baseball back to the community. So prayerfully, we can have some youth baseball going on up at the field at John Dewey this summer. Little kids back out there playing baseball. And that's, the community needs youth programming. It just needs youth. Our little kids don't have anything to do. And that's what our goal is, to try to re-energize the youth programming so that every kid is engaged and involved in something. It helps the whole community. If kids engage, they're not in the street, they're not causing problems, they're not stealing and doing things that kids do that don't have anything else to do. And I think we're on that pathway, just creating opportunities. So the fields at John Dewey will be a pathway for our young people, and also give our high school and middle school somewhere to go and play baseball.
Mr. Jolly. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I do have a question. I did not get the whole presentation. I like what I have heard. Is it possible, or what is the status for tennis in the district moving forward?
So that's something we have to discuss about tennis in the district.
And golf. I'm sorry, tennis and golf.
Oh, golf is definitely in the conversation in the district. Golf, definitely something. Our athletic director, one of the negatives of having your athletic director as the basketball coach, they got to spend time with basketball. But now that he's moved from basketball, he has a lot more time to continue developing those programs. COVID really put a halt to a lot of the great things that our athletic director, Brian Swift, had underway and starting. So as we come out of this COVID, you'll start to see some of those. You'll see soccer coming. We have Pastor Bass, who and a parent who want to start re-energize our soccer program, which you'll see at John Dewey. You have golf that we almost got it off in 20 before the COVID hit. We didn't get that. And then tennis, that's a conversation that I know our long-term resident, Mr. Chambers, would like us to continue and look forward to trying to re-energize also. But the tennis, we have not had in-depth conversations about the tennis at this point.
Okay. I was wondering, because I was probably one of very few that played tennis in the summers growing up, and then there was nowhere to go with that,
Yeah, and that's something. Again, as Mr. Swift rolls out this, trying to re-energize our youth programming. We definitely want to come to all 3 cities to help and see how we can partner on that, because it's very important that we have youth sports in our city.
And is bowling a consideration?
I think everything is on the table. Bowling, everything on the table. One of our issues, or I want to say issues, is challenges is finding coaches that would be committed and dedicated to doing it. I think the board would support any program that kids are interested in. The issue comes to play is who's going to coach it. We've had openings and nobody applied. And then, the major sports, everybody want to coach that. For those auxiliary sports, we need people committed and dedicated and who want to start a program. I think bowling would be an outstanding program for us in the district.
And we do have a new graduate that lives in Ward 2 who did have a bowling scholarship for college when he first left, and he bowled throughout high school. He didn't go to high school in Warrensville, but he was bowling throughout high school. That might be an option. That's the reason why I mentioned bowling.
Wow. Yeah, so look, we're open to talk. We open. We just want to have the best school district in the state of Ohio that provides kids with all the opportunities that anybody else get. So we're open to anything that that we can do to make Warrensville the best.
Thanks for letting me ask my questions. I'm gonna be quiet now.
Are there any other questions, concerns? Any other questions?
I just want to make one final comment real quick. I was going to say that, it's a beautiful sound to hear children playing in your community. So, for you to discuss, putting the baseball diamonds back up there, and, if the youth are going to be having practices and stuff like that. To me, that is a sign of a very healthy community when these facilities are being used to their utmost. Each and every single one of our 3 elementary schools, Eastwood, Westwood, and John Dewey, they all had baseball diamonds on them. We all had basketball courts, and we all had our baseball practices there, and and the little pee-wee football leagues and stuff like that. So it's good to see that these things are going to be getting used, because it was kind of stagnant for a little while, but that's a beautiful sign when you see that the children are out and they're not sitting here doing this with their thumbs on the video game. They outside of the house being active and doing what children are supposed to do. So, once again, my hat goes off to the school district, for, coming up with these ideas, to re-energize John Dewey, even if it's just temporary, until, the other facilities get built. So we can definitely gonna have another conversation about this down the line when the time comes to, potentially demolish John Dewey, so once that transition happens with the middle school kids, then, there probably should be another discussion.
Yes, it's because it's going to change the dynamics of that corner, Emory and Green. It's going to change the dynamics. So we have to work through that because you're going to have more kids walking to John Dewey than probably since it was a neighborhood school. Because you're going to have Wofford, you're going to have Green Road. You're going to have a lot of people walking to John Dewey in the morning. So, and in the afternoon. So, again, I can't stress the partnership with the city has been exceptional for the school board. It's just been exceptional because I feel that we all have the same vision and we all work toward the same things. We all want our community to be great. We have our role, city has its role, and together, I think Warrensville it will be and continue to be a premier place for people to move. All right, so if there's no other questions or concerns, as Mr. Howard said, I'm sorry, Council President Howard stated, we will have additional meetings as we move forward, this transition to the middle school to the John Dewey. We will probably have another meeting just to go over some things, and so everyone's aware of how this is going to look, what the times of, the days of, and so forth. But I appreciate everyone who tuned in, and thank you again. And everybody have a blessed evening.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Superintendent.